What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are having a good week so far. Glad you enjoy the intro screen there. That is my favorite meme, courtesy of supporter Dan Vince. Appreciate you, buddy. Hope you're having a good day as well. Um, Shout out to everyone in the chat here so far. I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place because Adam and I were having a fun conversation here just a moment ago about 3.75-inch action figures. But yes, welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, weekly variety show where we talk, about all kinds of good stuff. I am Steven, your host, of course, and joining me as always is the ever popular Adam Blue. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Just looking in the camera, it's like I'm wearing my Best Buy clerk uniform. It reminds me one time when I had this job and I would on my lunch break go to Best Buy, and one day I was wearing a blue button-up shirt and a yellow tie, and I'm walking around Best Buy. And people keep asking me questions. I'm like, why are people asking me? Do I look like a movie buff? Because I was like in the DVD aisle. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to get that treatment a lot. I was a very pretentious kid. I would like. I thought it was fashionable to like wear button-up shirts and vests everywhere, and so like I would constantly get mistaken for a waiter, and
Oh,
people were like
wow.
handing me their drinks at bars, and I'm like, I don't work here.
Thanks.
um,
Wow, that's funny.
and it was a very seedy bar anyway, so I was like, what? You think the waiters dress like this?
Wow.
But yeah, I see we've had some people lurking here: Ultronymous, Robert, Gundam Wing, Magus, Laura. Dan, good to see you. I hope you caught the intro screen. Thank you for that. And special shout out to Robert, whose birthday is coming up this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Deep lore about the channel is that Robert is actually the one that introduced Adam and I.
Exactly.
So,
Robert's been pivotal behind the scenes.
yes, he's
Yep.
the orchestrator of this entire operation.
I know.
Um, you might even say this whole operation was your idea.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Yeah, Robert has, been around since the beginning, always sticks around. It's always good to see him.
Yeah, absolutely. So good to see you, buddy. So I've got a lot of fun things to show off and sort of talk about today, and a lot of this is going to be sort of a continuation of what we were talking about last week, because we got into some interesting talks about technology and like different sort of applications that we can get into using that stuff.
Mhm.
So, like for instance, we one of the things I was working on was this little proof of concept um Hail Rider
Oh,
miniature, which
yeah.
I did finally 3D print. I even have two LEDs threaded up through him. I didn't do such a great job painting him, but I'll show you what I mean by that. So the idea was, of course, to take a 3D printed Pale Rider, thread two of our nano LEDs, one blue, one red, so that we can have our exam or Hades mode. And so I don't know if this will show up on camera, but so we
Yeah.
do have the effect. However, let's see. Can I get the blue one? There we go.
Wow.
But I have not done a great job painting him so far. So obviously, he's printed in a translucent blue resin, and I did like
Mm.
so I took a little bit of clay and covered up the visor to try and mask it, and then spray painted it with a navy blue primer. But I
Wow.
didn't do a good job getting into all the creases and crevices, so I'm gonna have to reprime him. But I mean, so far the results look pretty good.
Yeah, that looks awesome. I love the multiple lights, the dual lights. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a
So
sick idea.
so basically, now that this works, this is going to be July's 3D model that's available for the Patreon supporters. Also comes in Vincent Gleisner, double beam
Oh,
Naginata.
so did you also print and paint the another one too?
Yeah, I did. However, I had a really hard time. I don't know if it could be the fact that so they have different leg missile launcher attachments,
Oh, right. Yeah.
and so I think what the problem is with the Gleisner one is that for some reason when I keep trying to thread the LEDs in, it gets hung up in the chest area, and so like I'll get
Mm.
one light into the head and the other one kind of sits down in the chest, and so it like doesn't quite light up right.
Oh, okay.
With this one, I was able to basically tie the two LEDs together and shove them all the way up. So
Oh,
probably a design flaw on my part. I probably should have printed it in parts and then,
yeah,
like
you gotta figure it out. I mean, it's pretty amazing these ideas in the first place. Like, someone's gotta do it, and,
yeah.
you gotta go through trial and error to get there, so
So what I might
impressive.
do is prior to, making this available for download, I'm actually gonna separate it into the legs and the torso. That way you can easily get the LED. I mean, if you desire to do the crazy stuff that I'm doing,
Yeah.
you'll be you'll be able to easily put the LEDs into the head instead of having to, like, do this weird dance that I've been doing trying to get it up there. Um, but yeah, some other cool stuff that I picked up. I showed this off to the supporters on Discord. Finally got in some of these little LED units that I am going to have some fun making some miniature dioramas with. So I've got, we've got our ZGOC here that I've already wired up, and we've got bar
Wow,
LEDs now. So this is, first of all, this is
that's awesome.
bright as heck. Um,
Yeah.
I'm excited to do some like beam saber effects, and obviously,
There's so many uses for that, like, with Gundam,
yeah,
I love that, for instance, and you were talking about having it where, like, he's attacking a GM or whatever,
yeah.
so it's like a full piece.
So yeah, the idea for this sort of miniature diorama is I'm gonna have a GM basically getting blasted into bits by this ZGOC, and then I'm actually gonna do a resin pour over it and make it look like the scene is underwater.
Oh, wow. Now
And that
that is
should help diffuse the light a little bit because that's a very bright light.
no, that's a really good idea, and then it also made me think too of if you had, like, a diorama set that it's like the background above it could have, like, the laser fire of, like, the ships in a battle.
Yeah,
So it's almost like adding depth to a diorama.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, so many applications for these different types of LEDs and like, basically combining a lot of different stuff. I should have considered putting an LED in the ZGOC for the mono eye too, but oh well.
Ah,
Maybe next time.
yeah, I mean, there's
I mean,
is there a reason that you're doing it with the miniatures? Is it because you kind of want to kind of expand, in a way, the miniature market more than, like, what seems to be available with
yeah,
board games and tabletop stuff?
yeah, I really like working in this scale.
Yeah. It's
It's
fun to paint at that scale, for one.
yes, a lot
Yeah,
more fun to paint. There's a lot less airbrushing involved, like there is with Gunpla.
yeah,
Now, what I will say about Gunpla is obviously it's easier to work with because
right.
you've got a lot more room to like stuff LEDs into different places. But yeah, the diorama sets can get a little cumbersome. Whereas with these guys,
Yeah.
I can have something pocket size.
You know what? That just brings up something else when it comes to Gunpla, because as cool as master grades are, I tend to gravitate toward the high grade scale just because, yeah, they work more together when you wanna have a lot together, make dioramas, but even better, it's like, it doesn't seem like Bandai has, like, an official smaller scale. They tend to just have, like, either it's like a gashapon or the
Yeah.
proportions aren't accurate, and they've tried it before with, like, the, HMC Pro, but it's like, I guess they don't last because they're kind of expensive for what you get, so I wonder if that's, like, a scale that's really hard to nail down because it's either gonna be too expensive or they're just not fully articulated, which you kinda have to choose what you want then.
Yeah, and that's kind of annoying about these Gashapon figures is that it's like some of them have really cool poses like this Zegok, but like there is not a single good-looking Zeta Gundam among
Yeah,
any of the poses. It's very static and stiff, and so I mean it's really hit or miss. Like if you find a figure that's got a cool
everything.
pose to it.
Yeah, and so, like, I talked about the mobile suit ensemble. They look awesome, except the proportions aren't what I would spend my time with a diorama, but, like, this is awesome because I bought the fin funnel set,
That's awesome looking.
and it's crazy that for the mobile suit ensemble, it has the full fin funnel set, fully articulated, multiple hands. It's if they could just get the scale and the proportions right, this would be an excellent line, but I think it's just hard at that size.
Yeah.
Like, I want that it's I wonder if that's a technology thing, is that a materials thing? Will we ever know?
Yeah, it's a mystery, Bandai. Tell us.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do with like just capturing detail, like at that scale. the
you know?
face is gonna end up losing a lot of that detail, so it's like, why not make it an SD where you've got the head is kind of oversized and you can
Yep.
exaggerate those features? Um,
Yeah, it's
but,
I don't
um
know.
but, they could always do something like what Games Workshop does with, oh, hey,
Oh,
thanks for the sub
Ryan
there,
BW.
Ryan. Appreciate it. And for some reason now my alert
It's
box is
working.
working.
Yeah, amazing.
But,
That's awesome.
yeah, they could do what Games Workshop does with, like, the Warhammer figures where it's, like, just slightly exaggerated features,
Right.
not
Yeah,
over the top, like, SD
and
proportions.
that's why I like the ensemble,
Yeah,
line. It's like that's I'm willing to deal with that because they're getting it at that scale, full articulation, accessories, and all that. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So hopefully they do expand the ensemble line. But, let's see. Oh, I wanted to talk because, you know, well, but before we dive into, the topic and proper, this is kind of tangentially related, but we've been talking a lot about technology and like all these different like applications and stuff. Now you showed me something that you used in your last video.
Yeah.
Um, that's like basically AI is taking over, right?
Yeah, yeah, this is crazy. So it's the video actually will go up next Wednesday, but you wouldn't be able to tell because what happened was I was I was doing a figure review, and I when I do those I have the lapel mic so I can move around and I don't have to worry about the mic in my face. And I just left it on the table, didn't clip it, and did the entire review with the mic laying on the table. And so when I'm done and I'm looking at the audio form or whatever, and I'm like, wait a minute, that looks off. And I'm listening to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like you can hear I'm from a distance. It's echoey. And I was like, I cannot do this whole thing again. Oh my gosh. And then I'm like, you know what? There's tools out there. I've heard Adobe has these tools. So yeah, they had this audio enhancer thing where to be honest, first in Premiere, I tried to fix what I could a little bit in the
Yeah.
audio because it has some good tools. And then I exported the MP3, threw it into this audio enhancer, and then I heard that and I was like, wow, it's like my mic was right there. But even then in Premiere, I was able to even further, which it's something we don't think about. But when I'm mastering audio, that's a degree of AI. I mean, because we're basically telling the electrons to form in certain ways based on our UI that we're interfacing with. So
It's true.
it was just so amazing that we're at this point. I remember making videos in the past where if the audio is messed up,
Scrap it.
that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and the fact that I was able
No, I
to
just uploaded them.
it's just the fact that I was able to fix it, and I was like, "Wow, this just makes me so happy," and it just goes with so many things we can do today. We can use AI to kinda help, just like
Yeah.
how the best use of CGI is to help a scene,
Right. Not to
you know?
craft it, but to like but to
Yeah.
supplement and
Yeah.
refine. Yeah, and we had that conversation when we were talking about AI this is probably a few months ago, but there's a certain aspect of AI in mobile suit controls. In fact, you
Yeah.
might even argue that there's a certain degree of AI that's existent in current like automobiles. A lot of people don't even understand like how power
Trans
steering or anti-lock brakes work.
Yeah.
And
Transmissions,
those yeah, those
manual to automatic.
there you go. I mean, so there we already have like smart systems like that in place today. So
Yeah.
a lot of people kind of will critique Gundam and say like, "Oh, you mean to tell me you can do these advanced and delicate operations using just a couple of sticks and a couple of pedals?" It's like, yeah, actually you can.
And I love it because it's almost like we're supposed to infer that there's this technology already in place that to everyone it's just normal.
Yeah.
But on top of that, there's an added layer of AI. So it's almost like we're kind of separated from that when it comes to the Gundam storytelling, but it's there. So like, and I think it was F91, wasn't it? Where they were like, no, just casually walk toward the weapon. It will pick it up on its own or something like that. Like
Yeah.
they every once in a while will bring that up. But I mean, you just think of someone back when automobiles first came out and the idea of an automatic transmission didn't exist. But you talk about, oh, what if we can automate it? And people would be like, that's impossible. Like,
Right.
what, and now, and it's even hard to sometimes think about self parking
Right.
because I'm like, how's that even possible? But it is.
It is.
Yeah.
because I mean every action, as complex as an action gets, as soon as you start boiling it down to its individual parts, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, there's layers to it that will then make it make sense in the end. Yeah.
right. You can always and that's obviously great advice for basically what we're doing here is I have this dream of creating this excellent colony laser diorama,
Oh, yeah.
and I am slowly breaking down the individual pieces of it and learning how to use LEDs in these different applications and trying to basically solving each individual problem at a time until we can put the big
Yeah.
thing together.
Yeah. And, Dan Vince was bringing up a good point, except automatic transmission is 100% mechanical. But I think if you were to break down any automated function, there is a mechanic behind it, like a mechanical, and even if a lot of it we're talking about, oh, well, it's uh, electronics, AI driven. Well, you have the computer. Where does the computer come from? Where does the microchip come from? How did the microchip get made? So there are layers to it. And that's what I was talking about. There's that we're removed sometimes from understanding how we got there. And so sometimes
Yeah.
it seems impossible.
I mean, even programming in and of itself, because like obviously the closer you get to machine code, the harder it is for a human being to like read it. And so
Yeah.
when you have it's interesting when you look at like a programming language like C sharp or JavaScript or whatever, basically that is sort of legible because you can, pace out the variables and like, oh, this equals that. And but
Yeah.
then that is really just a translation
Yeah.
to tell the machine code what you want it to do. So it's like and we talked about that on the AI episode as well, as it's like even the language models. The language model is just trying to interpret like the real magic behind the like Chat GPT is just interpreting the instructions.
Yeah.
Basically everything's just it's glorified translators.
I mean, it's what like a UI is in anything. Like the Windows UI is really just a way for you to communicate with the hardware because you can't really speak to it
Yeah.
mechanically.
And so yeah, I mean a lot of this stuff it's all misnomers really because
Yeah.
we don't have true AI.
Yeah, it's not even an
Everything is
intelligence. Yeah,
AI, but that's just a selling feature. It's not,
exactly.
the language models themselves, they'll even tell you that they're not self-aware.
Yeah, yeah, until they do. No, but one day.
But hey, let's talk about some dumb technology. We're
Okay,
getting so
okay.
last week we talked about, the idea of maybe like a board game application that
Mm,
uses sort of like amiibo technology, RFID or near field communication to, move pieces around. And so I did some research and it turns out that somebody actually did this.
oh,
So this was a board game that came out. It's called Beyond Humanity: Colonies. Actually, it's out. You can purchase it now, I guess. And it uses RFID chips and an app, like a companion app, to create these sci-fi colonies that light up in different colors,
wow.
and it's just a neat gimmick to me.
Wait, so is with this game, it's like a base building game?
I guess so. I haven't
Wow.
looked up too many details about, what the gameplay is like, but man, that's got to be pretty cool to mess around with.
Yeah, because I think I brought up I was playing that Carcassonne game. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it has the tiles of you're building your own land and everything, and it looks like it's something like that, and this looks great.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is pretty awesome. I mean, I'm interested enough to learn more about it and,
yeah,
heck,
me
maybe even
too.
pick up a copy myself and
Oh, yeah, I would actually. Yeah, if it's something like that, because I feel like it could be that this lends to more of a game where more people can get in on it.
yeah.
If it I mean, I don't know how deep the systems go. We could find out there is a combat system and then there's this, but on the surface, when you kinda have that sort of building of your side or whatever, that kinda lends to more to play.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's
Hmm.
I guess it kind of sounds a like a cooperative version of Settlers of Catan. but
Oh,
but
okay.
I guess on a Martian colony, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm totally gonna look this up. Wow, $450. That could be for, like, an all-out version. There's
Yeah.
gotta be, um
And that's probably the biggest barrier to entry when it comes to, these types of applications is, the more complex the gimmick gets. I bet the most expensive part of it is just the app.
Oh, really? For them to design and have developed and everything?
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, everything else is just kind of like punch cards, and it looks like just a couple of miniatures, but very cool stuff. Now this is
Yeah.
probably a little bit beyond the scope of what I am capable of doing so far, but
Hmm.
I have an idea for a diorama that was inspired by a video that I saw on YouTube. Some guy, here, I'll pull this up. So this guy made a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild diorama with, it looks like it even uses like the Link amiibo.
Yeah.
But it's got like a moving guardian head that lights up in different LED colors. It's got like a little chest that opens up and has a LED light in it. So it's
Mm,
like an interactive diorama, which is a unique idea because
it is.
typically you think of just like a static scene. Maybe you throw some LED lights in it. But what's cool about this is that it's like the Link amiibo gets put on a pedestal and that's what turns on the Guardian. And like so it's got this neat little aspect to it that I really appreciate. And of course, we've been talking about the little miniatures that I did with like the magnetic base that lights up and stuff like that. So I was thinking, man, what if I do something similar to this, Gundam themed, of course,
Oh, yeah.
but I want to push it that extra 10% that I always that I
Oh,
always
yeah. Yeah.
overexert myself with. So I want to share this 3D model that I found a couple of years ago. This is basically a 3D version of a diorama that is Metal Gear Solid. It is the Shadow Moses base. You've got little Snake here on his codec. You've got the Hind helicopter. But what is unique about this little diorama that this guy 3D modeled is that from different sides it captures different sort of key moments from the game. So we've got like the battle against the cyborg ninja in the lab up here. We come down into the basement and we've got Snake sneaking around in a cardboard box. We've got Snake running up and down the stairs here. On the backside, we have the snowfield where you would fight
Mm,
Sniper Wolf. And finally, on the backside, we've got Metal Gear Rex and the final boss battle. So this is a really cool idea. And
yeah.
so the concept that I'm thinking of is an interactive diorama packed with all of these little LED lights that I've got going on here. We use some Gundam miniatures. We have our magnetic bases, and I'm thinking of a way to take Amuro through the 1 Year War by having
Mm,
maybe even do a five side, like a pentagon shaped diorama where you can take the
yes.
Gundam figure and snap it into different spots, which will light up that scene. So,
Yeah.
but I've got to come up with like the key moments that I want to capture, right?
Yeah, and I wonder how much it could be where each scene it lights up, but then there's different things you can do with that, like the battle with the goof. Like maybe there is a part where you can have the arms cut off,
Yeah,
or a part where it's just maybe him electrocuting Amuro. Like that would be neat. And then yeah, it would be almost like the one-on-one battles with the environment they're in, and then it could light up maybe the background, there's even more miniature minis of, like, the battle happening in the background.
exactly. Maybe
Yeah,
toss a couple little gun cannons in the background.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think that basically taking this concept from the 3D model and making it into a full physical diorama. I don't even know if I could wire it up with sounds, but maybe I've got like a spare iPhone that
oh,
I can, you know.
no. Oh, yeah, that's right, have a little device that just has a series of sounds that depending on And yeah, that would be neat if actually we're going even further with this. You have the phone, but it's like a touchscreen that controls what happens in the diorama. I don't know. Like there's so many I think there's something here about interactive dioramas. It's fun to build a diorama, but also how can someone get that joy of playing with toys that kind of is gone? We've talked about that. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to just play with toys, but I think in context of a diorama, we are pulled in more. It's more believable. But yeah, what can we do with the diorama to pull off seeing an explosion, seeing gunfire activate or something with the sounds, you know? In would you print this? Could you possibly 3D print this? Maybe the snowflakes would have to be gone, but
Oh,
is this made to be 3D printed?
I don't think so. I think that it was just kind of intended as like a showpiece.
Oh,
Um, but I
that's cool.
mean, he did a really great job on it. And actually,
Yeah.
it's not even the only one that he's done like this. There's another
Oh,
one
wow.
that let me see if I can pull it up here. So this was a combination of Luigi's Mansion and the first Resident Evil.
Oh,
So
I like
let's
the
see.
sound of that.
Yeah. So and same deal where it's like different angles and different heights will show different parts of the
Okay, so I'm sure in the new Resident Evil games, there's a mod to be Luigi. There has to be.
there should be. If there isn't, there needs to be. So here we have Chris Redfield, aka or Luigi Redfield, I guess.
Oh,
Um
okay.
and then this is a neat touch is you have Yawn, the boss snake is hiding in the floorboards of like of
Yeah.
the diorama. Then you've got, him running through that iconic hallway where the dogs break in. Up in this corner, that's a neat little touch to have Luigi's Mansion, like the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, that is.
But again, my favorite part of this is that you go down to the basement and you have like the laboratory where you've got a Wario in here. Um, we've got the lab where the tyrant sits.
That's so crazy seeing this, how much there is really a connection there
Yeah.
between Resident Evil and Luigi's Mansion. Because I was just playing just a couple months ago the new Haunted Mansion, the newest Haunted Mansion on,
Oh yeah.
Switch, and playing Resident Evil 4 recently, like, that kinda triggered all this. That's pretty amazing.
Right. So I mean, this is just a fun project. Oh yeah, okay, gotta have the dining room scene where Barry finds the blood. But yeah, I think that this is awesome. This concept of and you can bury so many Easter eggs into it. Like obviously we
Yeah.
have well oh we have Daisy Valentine about to get crushed in the in the Jill
Yeah.
sandwich scene. So I mean, I'm thinking that like we could do something like this, Gundam themed but physical. And I mean, I'm open to ideas. You guys tell me. I think
Yeah, Rogue has a bunch of
Rogue
new
has some ideas here. So he says side seven, the battle with Ramba Ral, the death of Matilda slash battle of with the Black Tri-Stars, invasion of Jabro. Obviously, having the Zegok in there would be, and
Yep.
that would be a neat place to introduce some of that resin pour where I've got
Right.
like maybe some underwater.
Some part yeah, it's underwater, part of it surface, and maybe try to do a halfway where someone's coming out
Yeah.
of the water. Yeah, and even, like, if it was one where it was, like, Axis or something, or the and you could have it where as you have mobile suits that you can connect, and the more that connect, the brighter the light gets, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, each mobile suit should probably have its own lights. If it's got a beam saber equipped, it's got to have one of those beam sabers on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I think there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do with it. The thing that I was thinking about, and this may or may not be feasible, is if I've got the like magnetic base, like I did with the Gundam and the Zaku in my last video. The problem is you keep the LEDs have to be wired in parallel, not in circuit. So it would
Mhm.
be difficult to have a light inside the figure, but then also have the magnets basically complete the circuit, right? Um, so because what I'm thinking is like if you want to have it so that when the figure's added, everything lights up. Basically, the figure itself has to be kind of static because all it does is complete the circuit to fire everything off. So there's probably a few problems to solve there, but
It could be that the way the diorama is positioned where there would be angles that the person wouldn't see. So the plan would be maybe to have the wire kinda, like, painted black and then go back behind or something. That's
yeah,
the only thing I did, but I think that could work,
could
yeah,
work.
depending on how you're planning out the diorama, which in a 3D program, which you're used to, that might be the best way to start, where you actually build it 3D, find out what you could print versus what you might have to build yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'll probably end up doing like a 3D mock-up. Just and of course I'll be 3D printing like the miniatures themselves, like the actual mobile suits, because that
Yeah.
sounds like a pain to like try and sculpt out of clay or
Yeah.
something. Um, but yeah, I mean, for starters, I do want to start with just you know, I've got a Photoshop document over here. I've got
Oh,
my handy dandy pen, so we can start drafting some of these ideas to
okay.
start. I do want to also probably hit up the dollar store and get like a Lazy Susan, like a cheap one, so that I can rotate it.
Yeah, and then I guess where would you then put it at the end of the day? Do you think you could find a shelf that you would still be able to turn it, or you
I
know
don't
what I
know.
mean? Or is it in the center of a coffee table?
Maybe I'll donate it to a subscriber
Oh,
because
there you go. That's cool. So
it's yeah.
then what is like what would you want to start with? Like, is it gonna be, from Zeta or 0079? Are there certain mobile suits you wanna work with?
I mean, I think that we could probably cut our teeth with just the 1 year war and like Amuro's progression, right?
Yeah.
So, the way I'm thinking is let's see, what if we, well, let's drop the size of this brush here. Not 25. Let's make it 5 pixels. All right. So to start with the shape, let's try doing, a pentagon shape, because like I said, the idea of having like 5 scenes is appealing.
Yeah.
And then we can always we can always use like height to create different layers, the same way as those 3D models where it's
Oh, yeah.
like, you know, on the surface level you have one part of the diorama, and then underneath the surface you have something. So like if we were to
Jabro might
do
be
Jabro underground and then
yeah.
like Rambaral above ground,
Yeah.
then that would be a
Okay.
cool effect. So like it's, let's imagine if the earth arc of the white base crew is on one side, we have the desert up top, Jabro underneath. Because I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be, we're not trying to be exact. It's like
Yeah.
just kind of giving the impression of these types
Right.
of things. Um, and so that way we can do our little Zegok in here, maybe have him tearing apart a GM.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, gotta have that classic scene. Um, Probably even do some resin pour underneath so that it's like, you know, it won't be an exact faithful recreation, but we will have some
It would
added
be cool
flavor.
though, where like it's almost like the bottom is yeah the water, and it's just a whole bunch of aqua Xeon suits, and it's almost giving the impression of oh the Federation's doomed. You know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and then we can complete that scene by having the Gundam with the Zoc on like the other side of that.
Mm, yeah.
Um, how did Amuro destroy the Zoc? I forget. Was it a beam rifle or did he cut it?
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. And it's funny because I was thinking about that the other day with Zeta. Like I was like, oh, how did this mobile suit get destroyed?
Right.
I'll have to. That's it. Could be a video. Let's see. Oh, he shanked it.
There you
That makes
go.
sense.
So then, yeah, we will have a beam saber through a Zoc. See if I can draw a cheap little Zoc.
Oh, Rogue is
Um,
saying single beam shot. So we'll see. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
Let's see.
we'll have to play with that a little bit. Um, so other iconic scenes, we probably want to have the big Zam, right?
Oh, yeah. That would be a good one. And isn't that also like a beam saber? Would that be a beam saber one where isn't it where he slices the bottom of it?
I
Or am
think
I thinking of
so.
something else? Yeah. Mandela effect got me. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Honestly, though, Shirt Lad's right. There's a lot of that with Gundam where I'll think this is what happened, but I'll like transpose multiple uh
Yeah.
things.
Well, and that reminds me of the episode of Dissecting Gundam that I did where I forgot that the re-entry to the atmosphere, like the original series, Amuro just pulls out like a sheet and puts it over the Gundam. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's the secret to re-entry? Like, why don't all mobile suits just carry this little clear sheet and throw it over themselves?
Because
Like,
yeah, after that, once I watched, I think Zeta, because they did a really good job with those scenes, I started thinking it would be the balutes. I don't know what the term
yeah,
is,
they
but
had to have those
the
the
yeah,
Balutes and
balutes.
um
Okay, yeah.
so
I
yeah, I mean, it was odd to me, and so it's one of those things that like I'm glad that they retconned it because in later incarnations of that scene, it's like, oh, the Gundam has like a re-entry process where it like super cools itself, and I was like, that makes a lot more sense.
yeah, yep.
um,
Yeah, Amuro blasts the cockpit of the Zok, or that's Zok, not Zagok.
there we go.
Um,
So yeah, I
I mean,
mean that would be like the Earth side. Um, Man, I'm trying to think of like what would be some other. So yeah, we
Earth
we want Big
is
Zam on one side, which that will probably be like the biggest statement piece. Would be
yeah. I mean, even last shooting
the
scene.
last shooting will be a great one as well, which I think that lends itself well to being like
Yeah,
um
it does.
tiered piece where maybe the last shooting is the base.
Yeah.
Um and we have like the Zeong head here, but then above that layer we would have Char's Gelgoog and
Oh, yeah.
Lala.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, I apologize for my terrible
No,
artistry here. Just trying to represent these scenes um quickly and
hey, that
not
looks like an helmet.
accurately.
Good
Yeah,
job.
right. There you go. It's
Um, and as you're drawing that, another thing that comes to mind is one of the, opening shots of or near the beginning, the first episode where it's either Amuro comes down from slicing uh with the beam saber, or once there's that, yeah, and then isn't it shortly after that there's that explosion in the colony?
yeah.
Like to represent that would be pretty neat. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
I
but
imagine
I
I'll be
wonder.
going through a lot of this cotton fluff to like create
Yeah,
explosion
yeah.
effects.
I mean, what is the most pivotal or signature opening scene in Gundam? Is it where Amuro gets up out of the truck bed in the Arc 78 too, and then maybe pulls off the
Yeah,
Zaku head?
that's yeah. So it's funny, these Gashapon figures, they actually have one that's like got the Gundam has the
Grabbing the
Zaku,
tubing?
yeah,
Yeah.
face in its hand. So I mean,
Oh.
that's an easy one to represent, I think. Um,
Yeah, because there's a few scenes at the beginning that are just cool. Like that first episode is pretty awesome. I mean, even the Zaku's infiltrating the colony
yeah,
on its own is awesome. Um,
and again, that can be something that's represented like you know like with those 3D models. It's like I can have a
oh, in
wall that
between.
separates and have like
Yeah.
the Zaku's approaching, and then on the inside,
Little
it's
Easter egg.
right. It's like
Like,
the Gundam's
yeah.
already blown up one of them, and so it's like, yeah, I think
That
that we can have some fun with that. So I think I'll probably have to move this side over, put this on one of the back sides here. So I'm just gonna write in last shooting and Lala. Um, we'll do a little skull here. Um, but yeah, we also want inside side 7 on one side. So the inside side 7 will probably come around here so that we can kind of like create that timeline of left to right. Start with
Yeah.
inside side 7, then go to the Earth stuff. Um, I guess Big Zam would probably be next to Last Shooting if
Yeah.
Solomon.
Yeah. That would be in that order. Um, and then somewhere in there, would we have either Makuve or the Odessa? Um,
Yeah, so I think that probably what we'll do is we'll go inside side 7,
mhm.
Jaburo slash the Goof fight, Odessa slash Black Tri-Stars,
Ah,
Big Zam,
cool.
and then end with Lala's death in the last shooting.
Okay. Yeah. I think those are good.
But
Um, yeah, and that has, yeah, the key moments. It Yeah, and it would be cool, like little Easter eggs just throughout it. Um,
yeah.
I mean, that would might come as you're developing the main pieces. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of neat to have like a gun cannon pushing a Zaku off of a off of a
yep,
cliff.
yep.
Um, yeah, I'm having fun imagining where we can sneak in little
There's some
Easter
things
eggs.
in like the white base, little Fraubo trying to bathe the kids.
um, but so let's see. That means mobile suit wise, I'm going to need Gundam. Let's see, times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna need 8 Gundams. Lord knows how many Zaku's.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
we're gonna need the Elmeth, Gelgoog. Honestly, the most interesting part about I think of this diorama set is just seeing all of the different Char incarnations.
yeah, which
That's
is
what I'm
always cool.
missing is I think that the inside side 7, instead of doing the Zaku's entering the colony, I'll have the colony wall and we're gonna have a Char kick. I think that
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Char
that's a good
kick
idea.
inside
Yeah,
and cutting the Zaku in half on the other side.
yeah. No, I think that's a good idea.
Big Zam's probably going to be the biggest pain in the butt to print, but
Mm,
that's going to be a fun one as well. Yeah, it's sad that we're not going to get any Makuve representation, but you know,
it's okay.
yeah, I think he'll be
He's,
all right with it. I'll
I
put a
mean,
vase in one of the.
I was surprised to see him in Cuckoo's Doan's Island. Anyway, it was like they wanted to represent him. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool because he's. I mean, it's weird. The Gaians and all those that like those are like the least I think suits that I think about. Honestly, like even though one of the first robot spirits I got was the Gaian, just
Really,
because I saw it on sale somewhere. I yeah, I think about those the least.
I'm pretty sure that it's one of those mobile suits where I think I like every variant more than the original.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good example.
um, so yeah, I, I mean, like I said, I could take the time to draw all of these all of this representation, but I think that we've got a good plan in place for this.
Yeah, that is neat.
Um, but yeah, we got to think about some more of those Easter eggs to sneak in. That I'm sure that they'll come up once we've got some of these
Yeah.
like actual scenes planned out.
Because, yeah,
Um,
as you're building it, yeah, or planning it, you'll then remember little pieces or little things that happened that could be pivotal. Like, would you represent humanoid characters, or is it just strictly mobile suit scale?
I guess at that scale it would be a little tricky
Mhm.
to cram
Well, like,
in.
so the plan wouldn't be to have things out of scale. It would be a completely to scale.
Yeah, I think scale would be consistent, but we would obviously have loose interpretations of like
Oh,
positioning and
perspective. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like it could be in the background. There's a white base or something, and it's just smaller, but it's there. You know,
That's a good
Like
idea, using some, like, forced perspective tricks to
yeah.
highlight that.
Especially if it's something as simple as a background being like a pink and orange sunset, and then all these little birds floating around, and then make it where it lights up, so it's like a peaceful section or something,
Yeah,
you know?
well, and that would be an interesting concept, is so, like, in video games, you usually have, like, a skybox, which
Yeah,
represents, like, all of your distant lands and, like, the sky and things that you as the player would never interact with.
right.
So what if in the center of this piece we have a cylindrical, basically just like a column in the center,
Mhm.
and we can have like scenes directly from the anime on there, and then I'd put lights on the inside to illuminate the backdrop. Like you said,
Yeah.
we can have like the on the side where we've got Odessa and the Black Tri-Stars, we'll have like a Medea and like the swans
Yeah.
flying from where
Yeah.
Matilda was killed.
I think that is a big deal, especially if it's things that are not like Jaburo, where it's like obviously inside somewhere. When you're outside and you want to really give that feeling of the diorama having the background there. I've been even thinking about doing that with my shelving I have, where it's like go to FedEx, print out just some anime matte painting backdrops just to put there to kind of help give it more of that feel.
Yeah.
I think that works, yeah. Especially if you can light it up or add LEDs in certain areas or even the cotton for being smoke or explosions or something.
Yeah, yeah, I think and that would allow me to kind of, um if I were to use like a clear cylinder to wrap it with, and then like black out certain areas, like so that Jabiro's dark but the surface is light, and
Yeah,
that's a
that's
clever
cool.
idea.
That'd be
Um
cool.
yeah, we can definitely have some fun with this. Like I said, I think that it's going to be, it's definitely not my most ambitious project, but it is ambitious, and I
No, it
anticipate that
is,
it'll
yeah.
take me at least a month to complete. Well, maybe not that long. We'll see how
I
dedicated
mean,
I can be to it.
look, this to me, this sounds like a crazy project. So if yeah, you're working on this, that would be amazing to start seeing the different stages of it, especially what you learn from this to then add to the Zeta diorama that you do later down the line, like a,
Oh yeah,
you know,
because I mean, I imagine that this is the type of piece that I would want to do multiples of, like create one for 1 Year War, one for
mm,
Zeta, one for like
yeah,
Char's counterattack. Although Char's
exactly.
counterattack would be kind of short. I think it would probably be just like three sides.
Yeah,
Um,
it would be maybe the battle at the beginning by the asteroid,
with the
and then
Rigazee and
yeah, with the Rigazee, and then maybe something with Quest blowing up her dad, and then
yeah, and then the final showdown.
there
Oh,
it's all, like, it's all morbid, because I just watched it again recently, and, like, it's so sad, like, everyone killing everybody. Like, I never was so mad at Hathaway. Like, I've watched Hathaway's Flash so much now, or the Hathaway movie, that when I see him kill Aggie Chan, I don't know how to pronounce, like, it it's just it makes me angry
yeah.
as I get with Quest. It's like, "What the"
Well, and it's so well, one of the things that I think is so jarring about Char's counterattack is that some of these deaths are so understated and
Yeah.
non-circumstantial. I mean, the way that Chan is shot is just, he's firing recklessly. The way that Gune is killed is just, "Yep, he's
I
gone, bye."
I know.
Whereas, you look at some of the deaths from 1 Year War or Zeta, and they are drawn out. There's this,
Yep.
pathos going on with it.
Even for
Um,
minor characters, like Matilda just shows up for a little bit, Amuro gets infatuated with her, and she dies, and it's if you just watch the trilogy movie, you're like, "Wow, why is he so sad about that?" Yeah.
he falls hard and fast, he's an emotional
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, no, so it'd be interesting, like, because I'm hearing that with the further Hathaway movies, they're gonna steer away from what's in the novel and kind of make it its own thing, like, to answer to the anime. So I hope that is a pivotal part where it's like, it would be great if Amuro is still alive and Amuro confronts him about Chan.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to hear what Hathaway has to say about that.
Well, that's an interesting topic you bring up, because, you know, Amuro, obviously, in Beltotchka's children, has a relationship and has children with Beltotchka, which
Yeah,
is again such a random. I don't want to say throwaway character, but like a lot of people played up his relationship with Frabo, his relationship with Sayla. Everyone
right,
wanted Char to, or Char. Everyone wanted Amuro to end up with Sayla,
right.
um, but but yeah, then he ends up settling down with Beltotchka
But
and sort of has a relationship with Chan. It's hinted at, but not really.
yeah, like the animes never really cement his relationship status,
No,
but then also his life status. So,
it's true.
um, yeah,
I mean, there's definitely the conspiracy theory crowd. Just like there's people that say like like Tupac is still alive,
yeah. Or I, no joke,
or
my
like Michael
son.
Jackson.
Yes, my son was playing VR yesterday. He was talking to someone, and he was like, "Yeah, Michael Jackson's probably still alive. He never got to have his childhood, so he just decided to leave this life and go do his own thing." And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty interesting coming from a 10-year-old." So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard some crazy theories about like he had that friend that was like a horrible burn victim. And so people are saying like, oh, Michael Jackson, he really just had surgery and made himself look like his friend. And it's like if you listen to the way this friend sounds, he's got the same like high pitched voice as Michael. And they're like, obviously he's living his own life and he's away from the public now as this like
wow.
hermit. I'm like,
Well, hey, now we're talking about Sea Destiny, because isn't that the Lacus character has her, it's a singer that has a double?
yeah, you
Yeah,
got to have a body
Mere
double.
Campbell or
So
something.
yeah, I'd love to hear what the deep theories are about Amuro still being alive.
Well, in once I understood in Zeta he was under house arrest, that almost, like, makes sense that that could continue to be the case, especially when after, I guess, Char's counterattack, or even around that time is when they wanted to kinda, like, hide the new type thing, brush it under the rug. They could easily be like, "Look, Char's gone. Hey, Amuro, we'll just pay for you to just chill here in this penthouse." I mean, I could see that happening, but then he has to come out because Hathaway is causing a bunch of havoc. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Hathaway is a new type, Amuro. We need you to stop him."
It sounds like a plot to like a 90s movie where it's like Demolition Man, like, there's only
Yeah,
one man that can stop this terrorist. We're going to
that's awesome.
unfreeze.
Yeah, if Amuro's on a stasis, he's like been frozen, and then he comes back out to battle. Yeah,
Oh man. Yeah. And then I'd love to like see all of the, because, there'd have to be some humor involved, right? Like Amuro kind of coming to grips with like, wow, things are so different in, in
yeah,
UC 120. Like,
yeah. He starts getting beat by Earth Federation for being a space noid or something, and he's like, "Ow." But that I would love if they did something like that though, because yeah, I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's wishful fan theory thinking, but I would love to see Amuro more, and it's not like they ever said what happened to him in animation.
true.
So I mean, him coming back for something, yeah, would be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just like a short little thing. Apparently, I recently saw circulating on Twitter was a cutscene from a video game where um, Char or Quattro is
Hmm.
in the Hyakushiki, the remains of it, and he's watching this whole scene play out where Camille kills Shirako, and then Camille is crippled, and he has this like line of dialogue where it's like, "Oh, that all of the hope of humanity results in this tragedy like time and time again," and it basically fills in that gap of like the you and I talk about it all the time, this like heel turn for
Yeah.
Char's counterattack. It's like kind of fills in that gap. It would be nice to, I think, you know maybe it's gonna be in the UC Engage game. We get like
Oh yeah.
a little
Well,
post Char's counterattack scene where Amuro and Char, I don't know, hug it out before they die.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this triggered a lot of thoughts, because, like, when I was watching Shark's counterattack again, the one main thing that I noticed was what he had a point destroying the Earth, but it would do nothing for his cause because they were relying on Earth for the resources, and Earth had influence in space. So at the end of the day, it just make things harder for the people in space. And that's the whole point of Unicorn was Full Frontal saying we want to make it where space can have its own resource and then in G Savior, that was the thing. So
Yeah.
to me, it's like Shar was really, really making it a personal thing. And from him giving the Saikamu technology, he was really just wanting to die. He couldn't take this life anymore. So he just wanted to push to the brink because there was no other option. There was no solution.
Yeah. And
So
I mean, that's that desperate people do desperate things.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that, yeah, I mean, the plot of Char's counterattack is definitely, Char setting up this, you know, this final battle with Amuro, like, please come and
right.
kill me, put me out of
Yeah,
my misery. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it doesn't really address um, and maybe that was what, maybe he knew that Amuro would always hold back unless he did something drastic, like I'm gonna just destroy the Earth.
right. In that I think makes sense because that's why Amuro was willing to be in house arrest in Zeta, but then go and help the AU, and would make sense why he would then do what he's doing in Char's counterattack. So it's like Amuro has this arc of growth, but it makes sense from what he learned from 0079 through Char's counterattack. So for him to be on house arrest but have to come back because Hathaway is being a terrorist makes sense
Yeah.
if he's alive. I mean, I don't even know. Did the people pushing the asteroids all die?
It's a
I
good
haven't even
question.
heard that. Yeah,
Well, I guess some of that gets addressed in Twilight Axis, right? Because they find like
that's
the
right.
Zazabi,
The Sazabi there. Yeah, there's yeah,
but
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah,
would make great diorama pieces.
it would. Yeah, that's for sure.
So yeah, like I said, that's all I've got today is planning out this epic piece and utilizing some of these new techniques that I've learned. Hopefully, setting up something that is like an interactive,
Yeah,
multi-sided diorama. Um, but yeah, thank you, Adam, and thank you, chat, for helping me plan this out because this is
oh
going to
yeah,
be
no problem. That's awesome.
yeah, we're gonna have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Don't forget to check out Adam's video, link down in the
Oh
description
yeah.
below. Slegger's GM review, which I
Yeah.
loved the thumbnail for that. Very, very
Oh, cool.
appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, it took I don't know how that came to me. I'm usually not good with that kind of humor, but yeah, it came to me.
It's good. But yeah, as always, thank you guys for keeping the chat lively and thank you
Yeah,
for the ideas. Don't forget tomorrow, Gundam Explained show.
that's right.
What do you have in store for us, Adam?
I don't know, but I think it's gonna revolve around Gundam. That's, yeah.
Good
Usually
plan.
the topics come to me, and a lot of times, especially now that I have this new format where we'll like tackle news near the end, I'll find some cool news. Like usually by the middle of the week, there's some new Gundam news that comes out. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's good timing. But
yep,
yeah, that's all
definitely.
I've got for today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great
Yeah,
rest of your week. We'll catch you tomorrow.
yeah. See y'all.
Cheers, everyone.